Hello. Today's data lesson is on step graphs, and this may be a new graph for you. You'll see a definition of step graph on this slide, and that's our vocabulary for this lesson. A step graph is a graph that looks like steps. And what a step graph does is it shows data changes that are not gradual, but data that occurs in jumps. Step graphs are useful when measuring distance or time. So here's an example of a step graph. Like our other graphs, it has a title and it has information on the horizontal and the vertical axis. It has labels. So the title of this graph is hiring charges. The horizontal axis represents hours. So the hours that you're hired or that you hire someone, and the vertical axis represents cost, how much it costs to hire someone for that amount of time. So you'll see this step graph increases in steps rather than in a continuous line. You'll see that there are bars that represent a range instead of just one point. So on this graph, if you worked or hired someone from 1 minute up to 1 hour, it would cost you $20. So as soon as that person began working, they've earned $20. Even if they only work for 5 minutes, you pay them $20. At the end of an hour, they've earned $20. As soon as they've worked a little over an hour and 10 seconds, they move up to the next step and they are earning $25. And they continue to earn $25 through 2 hours of work. As soon as that 2 hours is up and it's now 2 hours and 30 seconds, they're on the next step, they are earning $30 or it's costing you $30. All right, so this little circle at the end is closed. It's like a dot, and it means that the point is included in the step. So let's look at another example. And again, you'll see step graphs show changes that are not gradual but are in jumps. So on this step graph, we're showing the cost of renting a bicycle. And again, we've got cost on our vertical axis and time on the bottom. Again, we said it's a good way to measure distance and time. So somebody wants to rent a bicycle, and you'll notice that if they rent it from 1 minute up to 1 hour, they are going to be charged $10. All right, so it's $10 for 1 hour or less. Doesn't matter if they rent it for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. On this step, they're still going to pay $10. Okay, as soon as you begin the second hour, so if you begin to ride the bike and you ride it for over an hour, even if you ride it for 1 hour, 1 minute, you are going to be at the next step, which is $12.50. So again, you see that dot at the end of the segment, and that means that it is included in the step. Now, sometimes at the beginning, you'll have no dot or an open circle. Then the point is not included, but on the graphs we've been looking at, that dot, that closed circle, means that it is part of the step. So if you rent a bike for 4 hours, here's our 4 line, you're going to be paying $25. You need to look at how those steps increase across time. Now, telephone and parking lot rates are other examples that are shown on step graphs. When you go into a parking garage, you pay for parts of an hour up to an hour. And as soon as you begin the next hour or next set of minutes, however it's set up, you're going to be on the next step of the graph. So there are 2 slides that are going to have information for you to answer. So you'll want to stop the video to be able to read the information and determine your answer. So again, this is a step graph. It shows the cost of taking a cab over a certain number of miles. And this is a very common kind of graph that you'd have in a big city where you're taking a cab and you watch that meter ticking. And as soon as it ticks to the next mile or minute, you're going to pay an increase in cost. So you've got two questions to answer on this page, and they have a couple of parts. So again, stop the video because you're going to be finding the cost of taking the cab for different distances. And when you go to the next slide, again, you're going to stop the video. This shows boat rental rates. And again, time is at the bottom and cost is at the side, a very common step graph situation. And this time, instead of renting a bike, you're going to be renting a boat. And you've got questions to answer about this step graph as well, 4 questions. So I'd like you to pause the video twice or look at the video and go back and pause it on those 2 slides and answer the questions, and we will be discussing them in class tomorrow.